Richard Petty just said what everybody was already thinking, and he did not hold back even a little bit. When one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history calls you out by name, you know the whole sport is watching. So here is what happened. Sunday's Cookout 400 at Martinsville Speedway was rolling along, and then everything went sideways. Bubba Wallace and Carson Hocevar got tangled up on lap 324, and it turned into one of the ugliest wrecks we have seen all season. 12 cars got caught up in it, 12. And the guy who started this whole mess, he did not even finish the race. Let me take you through exactly how this all went down. It started one lap before the big wreck. There was a restart, and Hocevar, driving the number 77 Chevy for Spire Motorsports, made a bold move. He went 3 wide underneath Wallace heading into Turn 1. There was a little bit of contact. Hocevar got past Wallace coming out of Turn 2. That is just hard racing at a short track. But Wallace did not like it, not one bit. As they headed into Turn 3, Wallace got right up behind Hocevar and gave him a shove. Then he did it again. He kept pushing into the back of Hocevar's car through Turns 3 and 4. It was not just one tap. He hit him multiple times. On the exit of Turn 4, Hocevar's car finally spun around on the front stretch, and cars started piling into each other. 12 cars got caught up in that mess. Daniel Suarez, Chris Buescher, Austin Dillon, Austin Hill, Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones, Michael McDowell, Connor Zilisch, and even Wallace's own teammate Riley Herbst all got collected. That is a huge chunk of the field wiped out because of one moment. Now, Hocevar's team fixed his car enough to keep going. He stayed on the lead lap and worked his way back to finish 17th. That matched his best ever finish at Martinsville. Pretty solid for a guy whose car just got destroyed. Wallace was not so lucky. His day was done. He finished 36th, his first DNF of the season. He had to go to the infield care center to get checked out. After being released, he talked to the media. Wallace spoke to Jamie Little from Fox Sports right there on pit road. He did not try to hide from it. He said, "I misjudged. I didn't appreciate the 3 wide into 1, fine, but I misjudged the center of the corner and didn't mean to turn him." So, Wallace is saying it was a mistake. He got frustrated by the 3 wide move, but he says he did not mean to wreck Hocevar. But a lot of people watching that replay are not buying it. The way Wallace kept hitting the back of Hocevar's car over and over, it looked like more than just a mistake. And one person who made that very clear was the king himself. Richard Petty, the 7-time NASCAR champion, was actually at Martinsville that day. He saw the whole thing with his own eyes. And on Monday, he went on his podcast, The Petty Race Recap, and he did not mince words at all. His co-host Dale Inman tried to be nice about it. Inman said that Wallace kinda got into the 77. Petty was not having any of that. Petty fired right back and said, "Kinda got into him? He just drove on in there and knocked the door out of him." That is about as blunt as it gets. When the king of NASCAR says you knocked the door out of somebody, that carries a lot of weight in this sport. And Petty was not the only big name with something to say. Kevin Harvick, who was working the Fox broadcast, called it out right when it happened. He said Wallace drove straight through the 77 car and suggested something deeper was going on with Wallace that day. He pointed out that Wallace had been having a really tough race already. Then Kyle Petty, Richard's son and NASCAR analyst, took it even further on the Inside the Race podcast. Kyle said he has been in Wallace's shoes before. He admitted frustration is real, and that he has both been wrecked and wrecked other people. But then Kyle Petty brought up something nobody else was talking about. He said Wallace is dealing with double frustration this season. First, Wallace was having a bad day on the track. But second, his own teammate Tyler Reddick has been dominating. Reddick became the first driver in history to win the first 3 Cup Series races of a season. He won 4 of the first 6. That is unheard of. Kyle Petty said that kind of thing eats at you on the inside. He said, "You race your teammates. You want to be top of the heap, king of the hill in your own team. And I think there's some frustration and some pent-up anger in that when you get into it." So the idea is that Wallace was not just mad about the 3 wide move. He was carrying built-up frustration from watching his teammate run circles around the field. Kyle Petty also defended Hocevar. He said people like to blame Hocevar for everything because of his aggressive style. They call him Hurricane Hocevar for a reason. But this time, Kyle Petty said Hocevar did nothing wrong. He said, Hocevar is an easy target right now because you almost wreck Hocevar and everybody says, oh well, that's just Hocevar. He had that coming. In this case, I don't think Hocevar had this coming, man. Taking you 3 wide at Martinsville is not cause for what we're seeing right here on the screen. Even Steve Letarte, another NASCAR analyst, had a different angle. He said he believes Wallace meant to hit Hocevar, but only to move him, not wreck him. Letarte said Wallace just misjudged how hard he was on the gas. That is Martinsville racing, where you give a guy a bump to get by, but Wallace pushed it way too far. Now, here is the most painful part of this whole story. The reaction from Wallace's own team. Freddie Kraft is Wallace's spotter, the guy up in the tower who tells him where other cars are during the race. Kraft went on the Door Bumper Clear podcast and was brutally honest. Kraft said, "There's not really any sugarcoating about it. I gotta take Bubba for his word. He said he misjudged, and if he misjudged, it was a really bad misjudgment, and it hurts." Then Kraft laid out exactly how much damage this one moment did to their entire season. He said, "We went from 3rd in points to now we're tied for 8th with 5 other guys. Essentially, we're 11th in points and it can't happen." Think about that. Wallace came into Martinsville sitting 3rd in the championship. He had a real shot at a title this year. He started the season with 4 finishes of 11th or better in the first 5 races. He sat 2nd in the standings at one point. And now, after back-to-back DNFs at Darlington and Martinsville, he has fallen to 11th. All that early season work just got wiped out. Kraft did not stop there. He said, "You can't have those moments. And if you want to be a contender for the championship or a contender to be top 5, top 7, 8th in points, whatever it is, that SH times T can't happen. Unfortunately, we ended our day yesterday self-inflicted." Self-inflicted. That is the word that stings the most. This was not a mechanical failure. This was not bad luck. This was not somebody else wrecking into Wallace. This was Wallace doing it to himself and taking his own season backward. Hocevar, meanwhile, had his own reaction to the whole thing. Over the team radio right after the wreck, he said, "It was Bubba, shake and bake, a perfect little reference to the movie Talladega Nights, right in the middle of a real crash. That is Hurricane Hocevar for you." Kraft also made a point about Martinsville itself. He said, "That place doesn't owe you anything. You can be great one week and terrible the next time you show up." Wallace knows that. Martinsville is his favorite track. He has won 2 Truck Series races there, but on Sunday, it bit him hard.